How do you explain, what is your doctrine on the origin of the Caucasian race?
Well, the Caucasian race came about, they are called white people, and they were white people. It was made that Caucasian is a name given to the quality of the man, means originally bone and stale face. The person have a stale color, and his bones are weak, and the color Caucasian. But actually, he was made white. This was brought about, we would consider just recently. To talking into billions and trillions of years, the Caucasian race thereafter is just here of today almost. That took place 6,000 years ago.
And a guess, and maybe he could help me to convey a message to you. He's my friend. I like him a lot, and I'm going to tell you why I brought him in and why I think he's important to the future of you learning about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And his name is Yosef bin Asiel Israel. Salam alaikum.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, who appeared in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom righteous and holy praises forever due, we thank that great God for his coming to the wilderness of North America to raise up amongst us the first begotten from the dead, that special soul. I speak none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. In those holy and righteous names, I greet you in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. We'll be right back after these quick commercials. Looking for something that feels good, looks great, and stands the test of time? Well, we have it for you. Black Royalty is our athleisure line that is made from the finest bamboo and cotton blend. We have designed high quality tracksuit and t-shirts in multiple colors that provide you the most comfort when you need it most. Whether you're in the gym or running errands or just lounging around with loved ones, you need to be in the best quality clothing as possible. We have constructed a high quality clothing line that does not break the bank, and we beat out all of our competitors on price. So please, if you're interested in being comfortable, not just in the gym, but when you're running around and doing errands, please visit blackroyaltywear.com. Also, you can find us on Instagram at Black Royalty. And if you have any questions or comments about our brand and how you can help participate, you can find us at blackroyaltywear@gmail.com. We'll be quick to answer your questions, and with our responses, we will be very thorough. So also, like I said, Black Royalty is for you because it was made by you with the intentions of serving you. So leave all those other clothing lines behind and get on what makes sense, something that's going to stand the test of time, because black don't crack. Looking to get the courage to get up and get out and do something this summer, whether it's just getting overall healthier state or lose a couple pounds for that beach body? Well, we got the answer for you. Summer Fitness Boot Camp, held every Saturday from June 1st to August 10th from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 39th and Cottage Grove at the football field. For a cost of $10, we put you through a rigorous training of functional and strength and endurance using only your body weight to get into the health that you need to sustain yourself long term. So if you're interested in getting your body more active and being a healthier version of yourself, come on out. Contact 312-646-8449 or 312-391-5234. Ask for Corey or Prince Yosef. Now this is the opportunity of a lifetime where you get expertise training to get in the shape that you deserve, not just need. Once again, every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. for only a cost of $10 from the weeks of June 1st to August 10th, 2019. Come out to 39th and Cottage Grove, the football field, where you can get into a better version of yourself. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back again to another installment of Know Thyself Radio Show, where we make it our business, our duty, our responsibility to give you nothing but the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad to solve the problems of the black man and woman in this day and time. And for me, I always enjoy having a conversation with my people, educating the masses on the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, refamiliarizing a lot of us who already know the teachings with my perspective and understanding and how he has been so impactful in my growth and development. But as much as I enjoy those conversations, I enjoy even more when I'm able to have a brother or sister who also shares the love and the desire to give our people the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad to be a solution for all of the problems and all of the terrible situations that we have found ourselves in this day and time. So this is a brother that I hold dear and near to my heart. One of the brothers that I believe, and I don't want to speak out of turn or speak for brother, but I can say that we connected when we first met. We are the same age, similar in age, 1 or 2 years apart, but the spirits were akin. You know, the desire were the same. We both love the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. We both love our people. We love teaching. We love being the best versions of ourselves to show the world how impactful this great servant of God is. And we both also like to dress. So that's another thing that we have in common and we share. But this is a brother that I think that you can learn very much from. He has a very unique story. And I think if you just give him your unbiased ear, take the time to listen as we go through his life and his journey up until this point, I think you can not just learn much, but be very much inspired. So it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce to you, brothers and sisters, my brother, my friend, Brother ISMAIL Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam.
Oh, it's a pleasure and honor to have you here, brother. And I thank you again, formally on air, for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know how much you move and how much you do. Your hands in 1,000 different places, and you're really one of the shakers and movers in this city. Not just as a young man, but just as a man, period. And I thank you again for allowing me this time in your busy schedule so that we can record this wonderful episode. It's long overdue, but we're having it and we're taking the time to do it. So I just thank Almighty God Allah for this opportunity. But brother, if you may, just as we open up, before we get into the conversation, if you can, just give the audience something that they can live by, something that will better allow them to understand why you are on this show and why you're important to the people knowing the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Brother ISMAIL?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I've actually been looking forward to it for some time. And, I think one of the most impactful things as far as yourself and I always admired how you had a father figure in your life that was so dynamic, and you actually took advantage of all the things that he tried to, or it was instilling in you, and all the things that he done in his life, and how you looked at that and you saw greatness within yourself. That was one thing I always admired about you. But as far as stay moving.
Thank you very much,
that's, yes, sir, you're welcome. That it just reminds me every day I wake up, I hear the messenger's words, echoing in through my mind, and not any type of spooky type of way, but only because I've listened to his tapes and recordings, his audios, just over and over and over and over and over again, going to sleep, waking up, in the shower, whenever I'm at home, and in the car driving, just on my headsets, on my phone, just trying to get absorb so much information from the messenger as possible. And every time I encounter an event in my life, or even something small, something big, doesn't matter, I can reach back into my memory and grab something that the messenger said or type of quote, and then I know what to do next. And the messenger spoke about wasting time and making time, and how we as Black people for the last 400 years have been making no time. We've just been sitting still, and we don't have the luxury of just sitting still anymore. Like, we have to get up and we have to move and we have to do something. We have to make time. And there's another thing that he said about us being gods ourselves, and not just saying something to just try to raise our self-esteem or anything like that, but he broke down the actual identity of God from the beginning of time and the creation of God, and from our very existence and where we come from and who we are, and us being biological descendants from the creators of the heaven and the earth. We ourselves have the essence and the abilities of God, not the supreme one, otherwise that would make us the supreme one, but there's only one that is above of all. But us being his children and us being his offsprings, we have the essence of him, and we have the ability to do things like a God, and that's how he wanted us to operate, how he wanted us to think. And myself, I don't have a lot of education. I wasn't a very good student in school or anything like that. I barely made it out of high school. I think I graduated with a 1.8 GPA. I think 2.7 GPA, probably my highest GPA I ever had. So I would never anyone to rave about as far as academic. But when I came to the organization of Crow, that education was priceless, and it weighed heavier than any other education that I ever could have received. And you're talking about being a mover and shaker and being in different circles. I interact with a lot of highly educated people, doctors, lawyers, directors, and just people, all these pristine titles, entrepreneurs, very, very successful people. And I don't feel smaller. I don't feel that I'm missing anything. I respect them and all their titles, but me having the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and being educated with that, I feel superior. And speak in a condescending manner, because I am a humble person, but I know this is a divine knowledge of self, and there's nothing more superior than that. So I guess I'll open with that because I think that's something that the audience can really scratch their head on and kind of take a moment to digest that and really understand what I just said, in that statement.
Now, didn't I tell you, brothers and sisters, that this brother was dynamic? And though he tried to downplay himself because he's such a humble brother by saying that, he didn't do academically that well in school, but listen to the genius that's able to come out of his mouth. Listen to the way that he articulates himself. And that shows it's not that he was unable or inept in learning. It was that the things that were being taught to him in his spirit and his heart, he felt was not consequential in his true growth and development. But once he was enlightened with the knowledge of self, the knowledge of the God, and the knowledge of the devil, that awakened everything for him. And everything started to click on all cylinders. And it showed that though, like he said, he's in the room with so-called esteemed gentlemen and women, that he have been in the audience of those who have titles and have immersed a level of wealth, so to speak, in this country. He always is the one who stands out. He's the one who shines brighter than them all because he has something that makes him distinctly different than everyone else, and that's the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So, brother, I thank you again for that opening because it was so profound, and you touched on something that was so beautiful, which was the creation of God in the beginning of time, which was part of the Messenger Savior's Day teaching that the Crow had developed into a book that we sell.
Yes, sir.
Birth of a Savior. So I thank you for that. And you spoke about coming to Crow and that kind of being the foundation for you to grow into the man that you are and into the man that you will continue to grow into. But can you just tell us how that came into existence? How did you come into Crow? Because if I'm not mistaken, you are already a Muslim, or you had a Muslim background. You were born with the name Ismail, so you had a holy name, but you wasn't a practiced Muslim until you came into the organization of the Remembrance of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So can you talk about that for a moment?
Sure. Well, for clarity, I was born with my name, my holy name, and all praise to Allah for that. But I would say, so my parents, I'll start with there. My grandfather, I'll start with my grandfather, because he actually started it all. He moved up from the South, Chicago, and he heard the messenger teaching, and he went down to the temple number 2 at that time, and he fell in love with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. From that point, he decided to join and follow the messenger. And eventually, his wife came along, and now his children. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave my grandfather a holy name. He gave my grandmother and all my aunts and uncles all holy names. In 1975, after the departure of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we know that his son, Wallace Muhammad, took leadership, we should say. From that point, it destroyed a lot of families and individuals who committed suicide and just went crazy. But my family was one of the families that was destroyed in that transition. So my mother and my father married in the temple, and my mother and my father attended University of Islam in the temple as well. I was born in 10 years after that, 1975, so 85. From that point, my parents split. I was raised by my mother. My mother wasn't a strong believer. I came to learn that later. And so she never raised myself or my siblings in the teachings. She never told us about the teachings. She never talked about God. She never talked about religion, Islam, Christianity, nothing. It was just a subject that was never brought up. She never told me about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or any type of history with our family and Nation of Islam and the messenger. It wasn't until I want to say I was 18 when I came across a brother who was a member of Crow, and I was just looking for a job, and he saw my name on an application, and he asked me where I got it from, and I told him I don't know, it's just my name, and I had no idea what the meaning of the name was, where it came from, what type of power it had, the impact of it, or anything. And so, I mean, he thought that was very bizarre of me to be that ignorant, and so he took a liking to me, and he took it upon himself to try to help me to discover who I was. And the best thing he did was introduce me to the organization Crow. And then so from that point, he invited me out, and I started to go to Crow and listen to things. And he let me read some of his books by the messenger. And I went back to my mother, and I asked her, what is this all about? Where does this name come from? Who am I? What is this history? What's going on here? What's the truth? And her first reaction was, who you've been talking to? Where do you get this information from? It was not the reaction that I was hoping to get, but it was a reaction of, I want to say, fear. And
it was almost like as she was trying to discourage you for a second. It was almost kind of discouraging.
Yes. Yes. It gets worse, but
yes, sir.
So finally she broke that down, and she went into the attic, and she pulled out this box, and she had this box that was buried way deep in the back of her closet. And she opened the box up, and she showed me pictures of her her gowns and her with other Muslims, and then she started to tell me my history and my connection with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And when I was young, I remember distinctly my grandfather had a picture of the messenger on his wall. At the time, I had no clue who this, but he always had this picture on his wall, and he always tell me, stay away from my grandfather because he was, the understand and the other. He had some crazy belief that, there was a time of doom and reckoning coming. He had a survival kit in the basement with water and food and different like that. And they say, he was crazy, don't listen to him. So I always stayed away from my grandfather as a child. And after I come to this knowledge, I went back to him, and I seen that picture on the wall. And, I told him that, I know who that is now. And I believe as you believe. And that pretty much created a whole new relationship with my grandfather. And I thank God for that. But as going back to my mother, she was very interested as far as learning these different things. She wanted to know who was teaching me, how, where was I getting this information from. And so at the time, I had a brother that was recently released from prison, and she sent him over to Crow to find out what was going on and what was I doing and who was I with. And from that point on, she was trying to be very discouraging and trying to get me to turn away from the teachings. She still had contacts with people that followed Wallace, and then so she started to reach out to them and ask about Brother Munir and Shaheed Muslim and Brother Khalif Muhammad and this organization and what we're all about. And when she found out, we have our eyes set on the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, she tried to get the other brothers and sisters that stopped following the messenger, maybe went to a Orthodox Islam, to try to come at me and try to tell me that, God can't be a man, that Master Muhammad was a fraud, that, the messenger is not who I think he is, but in the same breath, they said he was a great man. He helped black people, but he wasn't divinely sent or anything, and that I should be looking towards Prophet Muhammad, may pieces of Allah be blessings be upon him. And so it was a lot of that, person after person she sent after me to keep coming, to try to deter me, to try to turn me away, to try to take my ear, to try to tell me that the messenger taught that the white man was not the devil. And they even had like this one trick they tried to play on me, was to say that in 1974, the Savior's Day, the messenger taught that the white man was no longer the devil. And so I asked them to produce this tape, or like this audio, whatever they had, and because I've seen 1994 Savior's Day several times, and I never seen that in there. And they said that I have an edited tape or whatever, and it's people cut it out. So I asked them to produce their evidence, but they never could produce it. And it was argument after argument, fight after fight, and I just continued to kept coming to Crow. After high school, but that was when I first introduced that brother. I was around 18, I was in high school. After I graduated high school, I actually ended up moving out of my mother's house because I just couldn't bear living there. Mainly because of my treatment, not because anything to do with the teachings. I was always taught and revered as a screw up, or an idiot, a dummy, a failure. And these were all the things that always instilled into me, that I was a nobody, that I wouldn't be anything, that I would become homeless, that I would never graduate high school, that I'll never go on to do anything. I'll just end up on drugs, I'll die, I'll go to prison. These are all the things that always was told to me and communicated to me, and how I was always treated. So to leave that environment, I ended up moving out to Indiana for a couple of years, and I wasn't doing nothing with myself or with the time there, but getting into more trouble and just doing nothing with my life. Eventually, I ended up becoming homeless for about a year. Fell on some hard times. Things happened to me in different situations, and then I ended up coming back to Chicago. When I came back to Chicago, I immediately started going back to Crow, and from that point on, my interaction and relationships with the brothers and sisters there at the organization showed me that there was something so much more to life than what I was doing. And them taking me in, and one by one, my family members, they all came after me, attacking me for my beliefs and trying to become a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They ridiculed, they mocked me, they stole from me, they set me up. They did everything they possibly could. They tried to put me in situations where I get arrested. It was just one thing after another. And, they just talked about me like a dog, behind my back, to my face. And so from that point, I just started distancing myself from them, and trying to ingrain myself more into the teachings. At this point in my life, I discovered that I actually had some type of purpose on this earth. And the only person that was giving me that information, that knowledge, and that direction or that roadmap was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I had a choice. I could continue to go with the messenger and discover my purpose and continue to find happiness and peace, or I could go back to hell with them and be what they wanted me to be. So I decided to go with the messenger. And from that point, every person that I had to exclude from my life was replaced by a beautiful person, an example from a member at the organization of Crow. So I never felt alone or anything like that, or that I didn't have a family or anything, because I pretty much traded them off for the brothers and sisters and believers at Crow. And in particular, the founders, who all individually took time with me to help develop me as a human being, and 2, as a black man, and 3, as a believer in the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and Almighty God Allah. So I owe a great testament to them, of course. And one in particular is Brother Munir, the late great Brother Munir, who really became like a father to me after my father rejected me several times, me pursuing him as me trying to be his son, him to be my father and try to give me some type of relationship or guidance with him. He rejected me several times and, said he didn't want to do that. So, which is another reason why I admired how you see your father and your relationship with your father, and how you respect him and how he groomed you. So Munir became like a father to me, and he helped me tremendously in countless ways. But the one thing that the organization did was kept me focused on the messenger. And though I wasn't a very good academic student in school, after learning the messenger's teachings, it taught me the value of education and knowledge. And because the messenger said that, what makes Master Prophet Muhammad the one, God in person, is the knowledge that he has. And knowledge is key, knowledge is power. Like, I had to learn as much as possible in order to unlock the God within me. And, the messenger talked about all the things that he knew and all the things that he learned from Master Prophet Muhammad, Allah in person. And it just clicked in my head, like, I have to learn stuff. Like, I need to learn information, education. Like, I need to know. And first and foremost, the foundation was education of myself. And then from that point, as the messenger taught us that Islam is mathematics and science. And so reading the messenger's books and how he breaks down physics and chemistry and biology And this, all of the science, like, it taught me the fundamentals and foundations, everything that I probably should have been learning in school, but on a whole nother level, because it broke it down and it taught it to me in a way that this is who I am. Like this, it taught me mathematics as far as who Ishmael is, science and anthropology as far as who am I and who is God. So he made everything relevant to me as a black man. So everything that I was learning from him was very interesting, and I just couldn't stop learning more. So from that point, I can go talk to a chemist or a scientist and understand their language and what they're talking about, because I know the very DNA of myself, the very science of how I was created, the very science of how the planets were created, the universe, how all these things are held together, the sun, is from the surface, into infinity. Like the messenger was not limited in his knowledge or in his teachings. So for me, that is what I would say really turned everything around. It took a simple-minded nobody and turned me into something that I did not know was possible for me to be. And now that the messenger has shown me this little potential that I have, I would say, achieved or arrived at, and I'm looking further beyond and down the hallways of time, and I'm thinking, if I can achieve this little bit, I can do so much more. And the messenger also taught us about like how to become an expert in something, in the 10,000 hours of repetition, and how to perfect things. So that clicked in my brain to say, you know what? Well, I need to do more. I need to be more active. I need to take more steps. I need to become more productive. So from that point, at the time, I didn't read a lot. I barely knew a lot of vocabulary in the English language. So I had to learn how to force myself to read and understand, and vocabulary and speaking, articulation. So when I am in front of a brother or sister or anybody, I can represent myself better. And with that being said, I never felt more proud to be a representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I never felt more proud to wear that crescent on my lapel and to be a distinguished gentleman. And you say, I like to dress well. It's something that the messenger instilled in me, that I'm not only representing the messenger of God, I'm representing God himself. So I want to be my best. I want to look my best. I want to present myself in the best way. I want when people look at me, I want them to see something different. I want them to see a shining light. And I want, when they ask me, who are you, where are you from, I can tell them that I'm a product of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so, these are just a few of the things that kind of got me into where I am today, and how it shaped me and my mindset into what I am today. And of course, anybody can pick up a book and read something, or anybody can walk through the doors of Crow and sit in a class. But it's really the work that you put into yourself, and the work that I put in at the organization, helping the brothers out, helping the brothers and sisters, and watching them and learning from them, and seeing their ups and downs and their trials, and learning from that, and really developing more as a man and a human being, and what a man, what should be expected as a man. I first learned what a woman was when I seen a sister at the organization Crow, and she stood at the podium, and she was so just radiant and glowing in her gown, and she was wearing all white, and she was just so educated and so articulate and smart, and her belief was just so strong. And at that point in time in my life, that's when I discovered this is a woman. This is what a woman is, but this is what a woman should look like. This is what a woman, how she should carry herself. This is how she should act. This is what a woman is to me. And that also elevated my opinion of women, and because they're also learning from the messenger what a woman was and her greatness and her magnificence and everything that comes from her, and how she has the attribute of God to create life, and how much we as men, we need that woman, and how she is the creator of our civilization. You know, it's one thing to read it on a page, it's another thing to see it live and in person. And so that grew my respect not only for women but also for Black women, and seeing the messenger's humility and teaching and having patience with his people, especially the Black woman, and how, you know, we just as a people had just been belittled and made into like beasts in the field. And to see a person like that, I mean, it totally blew my mind. Literally blew my mind. I was in awe at that moment. And you know, from that point on, it just gave me a much greater respect for Black women, no matter if they knew who they were or if they didn't know. And every Black woman that I interact with now, I try to instill some type of identity of self into them, and try to provide some type of example of what a Black man is. Because though there are many Black men, there are not really a lot of visible examples of what a Black man should be and what he is. So Black women don't really have that example or that experience being raised by a Black man or interacting with a Black man from growing up and even into womanhood. So they don't really know how to really act themselves as a Black woman, because they don't really have a Black man to really show them. So I try to give them that, and every Black woman that I have encountered, that I've done that with, has all come back to say, you know what, you changed my opinion of myself and what I want for myself, what I should expect from a man. You know, now, you know, if a man doesn't open the door for me, if a man doesn't allow me to, or doesn't show that he has interest in me and protection of me, you know what, that shows me that, you know, that's not a good man for me, that he doesn't show leadership, doesn't show strength, he's not giving me something to educate me, to enlighten me on something, he's not giving me type of instruction, or, you know, he's not leading me anywhere. You know, they know now, like, that's not the example of a strong man. But I'm not saying that, you know, I'm the greatest at everything, but because we all have our faults. But as far as like I said, just a little bit from these last, you know, years or so of getting the teachings, just a little bit has been like, it's just been phenomenal. It's been on a magnitude scale that is undescribable at the moment. You know, and I'm just thinking, like, if just this little bit can do so much, can affect so many people, and I can be an example to so many people. And every day, like, people are coming to me in private or even sometimes in public to say, man, I've been paying attention to you. Like, I like what you're doing. You make me want to dress better. You make me want to do this better. You make me want to have that more respect for myself. Like, I don't want to deal with, you know, certain type of men anymore, or, you know, I don't want to deal with certain type of women anymore. Now I want to pursue things in my life. Now I believe in myself. You know, like, before, for me, like, I didn't have those fundamental things, like, as far as believing in yourself and thinking that I am someone. You know, like I told you before, is, you know, when I was growing up, it was you're stupid, you're dumb, you're a failure, you're nobody, you're not going anywhere, you're not going to do anything. And with those things being said to me over and over and over and over again, and then me acting them out and living it, it became my reality. And I accepted it, and I accepted that I was going to be nobody and nothing. So coming into the teachings of the messenger, and him telling me the exact opposite, but not only just telling me, him proving it, and then giving me a science behind it and knowledge and everything to back it up. And when I took it out into the world and tested it, and it's shown to be real in fact, I couldn't dispute it. So it made me more eager to want to learn more and do more and become more. And I couldn't have done any of that without seeing examples from the members at the organization of Crow, and just coming back there as much as possible and getting involved and just learning more and stepping up and taking responsibility.
Absolutely. Let me stop you
I
right
think
there for 1 second,
yeah.
because
Go ahead.
you hitting so many great points, and that's why I'm really letting you go, because like I said before, you have such a remarkable story, brother, and you shared some things that I didn't know before, and I've been knowing you for a couple years now, and it shows the ability and the power that the teachings have to transform us into something that is greater than we could ever see ourselves. And for you to be through such tumultuous times, dealing with such duplicitous people, and those who you would think should love you the most, who should be the most supportive, those who, for all intent of purposes, ones who are supposed to protect you, be the very instrument that the devil would use to not just discourage you, but it seemed to outright destroy you. But out of all of that, you found true love, a real love, with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it was reinforced by everybody who believed in the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who were housed in CROW, which is the Coalition for the Remembrance of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And you were getting to why CROW is so impactful, especially those spirits and personalities there who were, in a lot of cases, examples and guides and motivation. And you spoke one in particular who is the managing partner still to this day, the late great brother Munir Muhammad, who took you in as a son, who was like a father figure for you, who was your father. I'm not gonna say who was your father, because he displayed all the attributes and did all the things that a father would do for someone he loved, for a son that he loved and that he cherished, and that's no small feat. And as we start to kind of take you being in that state of confusement, or being confused, to being disoriented in all of that hate and disdain that was around you in your own environment at home, around those so-called family members, and then coming out of that, choosing the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, choosing his message of love for self, choosing those things that you knew, even though you didn't really probably understand in its totality, but in your heart of hearts, you knew this is not just what you need, but this is going to be your only course of survival. And once you accepted that, like you said, after coming back from Indiana and really saying, okay, I'm going to put my feet on the ground, I'm going to dig all the way in, I'm not going to have anything be a distraction to me. I'm going to totally commit myself to this man and the God that he represents. Then you start to see, I think, changes in such a way that it was inconceivable from the outset. So talk about, if you can, for a moment, you don't have to go that deep if you want, but talk about how important CROW was to that growth and development, and how it started to transform you from a child that you felt didn't have any worth. And I'm just quoting what you said, didn't have any value. You seen yourself when you looked in the mirror as a failure, as a disgrace, but then you start to see meaning, you start to see power, you start to see God. So if you can, just talk about how CROW reinforced that, being spearheaded by Brother Munir Muhammad and the co-founders, Brother Shaheed Muslim and Brother Halif Muhammad, and how they started to develop ISMAIL Muhammad, the great example that we see today.
You know, to say first, you know, the founders, the members, they didn't know me. I was just another face that came to the door, just like other faces. You know, I was nobody special to them. They didn't know me. I was just someone that was invited out. They had no obligation to me. They had no reason to do any of the things that they did do. They weren't receiving anything in return. But I'll tell you this, you know, through that experience is how it affirmed in my reality that Allah is real and Allah loved me. And discovering and learning that Allah loved me, like, that was something that gave me peace and released me and took all of this weight and hurt and pain and everything that I was going through. It literally was a physical weight off of my body. And Brother Munir, he had no reason to do the things that he done. It wasn't something like he was benefiting something greatly from it. But the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us to accept our own and interact and treat each other in a way that we're not used to. And the members, the founders, Munir, they were only doing what the messenger taught. They were only being that example. They were only following the teachings. They wasn't doing anything extra. They wasn't going out of their way to do anything extra. They were only doing what they saw the messenger do. And all of the hatred and everything that was trying to turn me away, the people that I thought was supposed to love me and support me and want the best for me, were not doing that. So I felt in my reality, based upon their actions towards me, that no one loved me and I wasn't loved. But having the experience at the organization Crow, that was my first encounter of love, of family love, of a parental love, of a sibling love. That was my first experience in life, experiencing what love is. And again, they were simply just doing what the messenger taught them to do, from reading his books and listening to his tapes and believing in him. So for me, that freed me. Like, that lifted everything away from me. It brought me back to the scripture, and what the messenger taught is, once you accept the teachings, once you accept Allah as your God, everything that's before you has been washed away. It's done with. You got a new beginning, a new slate. You can reinvent yourself. You can create yourself the first time, because now you know who you are. You know what you are, and now you have tools to build who you want to be and what you want to be. And so for me, that was one of the most liberating things that could have possibly happened to me. And though it wasn't a piece of cake, a walk in the park, something easy, there was a lot of scolding, a lot of discipline, especially from Brother Munir. He stuck his foot up my back a few times to get me straight and to slap me around and kind of get me into the mindset I need to be in. And to be honest with you, I am so grateful for everything that he has done. Because if he didn't care, and if it didn't mean anything to him, then he wouldn't have bothered. He had plenty of other stuff to do, plenty of other people to attend to. There was no shortage for him. So for him just to take those little moments to tighten me up and try to get me on my square and discipline me and then show me, like, you got something to live for here. Like, there's something happening here, and that you ought to be a fool if you don't see the value of it and take a hold of it and try to take advantage of this. And so it was just those instances of those experiences. And Brother Shaheed, he took me to the side one time, and he just told me, like, how to manage my money, how to be responsible, how to pay my bills, how to make my rent, it was just a lot of just fundamental things that I never knew or never really had exposure to, or no one ever really just took the time to tell me. And I went to the Wednesday classes, and I went to the Friday classes, and I went to the Sunday classes. And before I had moved back to Chicago, I was out in Indiana. It's about a 2.5 hour drive from Chicago. On the weekends I I would drive back to Chicago so I could make it to class. And the reason I did that is because Crow and the Messenger was the only glimpse of light in my life. And a person, the greatest motivations of human behavior is pain and pleasure. People will do anything to move away from pain and into pleasure. And so for me, driving 2.5 hours up to Chicago for an hour and a half class was something that was well worth it to me from what I was receiving from it. And the feeling that I was getting, and how I saw myself becoming, or saw myself that I was more than what I was. At that time in my life, I had long braids and big earrings in my ear and chains and sagging pants and baggy clothes and stuff like that, and sneakers and stuff. And that was my opinion and reality of myself. And coming back to Chicago, driving up here every weekend or as much as possible to try to go to class at Crow, and seeing the brothers, how they dressed and how they carried themselves and how they looked, and how they saw themselves as respectable men. Like I wanted to emulate that. So I stopped wearing gym shoes. I started, stopped wearing jeans, started pulling up my pants, stopped wearing like little t-shirts and stuff like that with, big names across the front. Started wearing, button-up shirts. And eventually, I ended up cutting my hair off. I was like, I have to get rid of anything that can hinder me from being a productive person. And I'm just looking at all of the stereotypes of black men. I have to just try to get rid of everything as possible to try to become more of a productive person. Because at this point in my life, I wanted something out of life, and I wanted something for myself. And if it wasn't for the examples of the members at Crow, I don't know if I ever would have ran into an example, if that makes sense. Because the people around me were doing nothing with their lives. Like I said, my siblings were in and out of street gangs. I'm not gonna go into all the criminal activities that they were doing, but it was things that landed in, 15 years in prison, life sentences. I have cousins, brothers, serving life sentences, in and out of prison, probation, like this. I wasn't in an environment or around people that was going to show me something better or elevate me in any type of way. So I had to take it upon myself as a reaction of survival to be more serious and take the organization more serious. And though I had a low opinion of myself, I didn't think I was worthy, I didn't think I was good enough. The brothers and sisters at Crow never treated me in that manner. They never looked down upon me, and they never spoke to me in some type of condescending manner. They never treated me that way. They treated me as their equal. They treated me as their brother, and they accepted me, and they gave to me. And that was something that I had not experienced before in life. So almost every life in the experience organization was a life-changing experience. And I've had women to come to my life and say, oh, you better than them. You don't need to go to the organization no more. You this, you that, you can do your own thing. Just come with me, come this way, come that way. And you know what? None of that ever deterred me, because I also had examples in front of me of other people that fell victim to that and what became of them. Just like, Minister Farrakhan says that, he was glad that Malcolm X was an example for him. Well, there was a lot of examples for me too of what not to do. And I'm grateful for that. So I think how the organization brought the teachings to life and how they acted it out on a day-to-day basis and how they showed it to me and presented it to me, like that made the Honorable Life Endowment so much more real than what I could have conceived on my own. So that is a real impact on the importance of the organization to me, as far as my experience coming into these teachings. of course, the organization does a lot more of the work, as far as remembering the works and accomplishments of the messenger and the TV shows and radio shows and traveling the world to take the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's name, around the globe. But as far as just me as just a little guy, little brother, just coming into the organization, this is what that organization has done as far as the impact, as far as on me personally.
That's a beautiful thing, brother, and I thank you for that. Once again, audience, we are really blessed to have brother take the time out to articulate this message, because not only do I feel that this is important for our hearing, for our growth and development, but I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of brothers and sisters who are out there with the same circumstances and situations, who may have been discouraged by family members, by those who they love or are close to try not to take heed to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we're on the cusp of whether we should or shouldn't, because we don't want to lose those relationships, because we don't want to isolate ourselves from those who we've grown up to or grown up with. But as brother's life bears witness to, and as his testimony is so clear and concise, you always win when you choose the messenger. There is not a sacrifice that is great enough that will ever not yield the benefit of you choosing the messenger of God, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So whatever we think that is too much is not enough. Whatever we think that is just the price is too much to pay, it's still not enough. Whenever you decide to choose God, you will be the winner. So, go ahead, brother.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I really want to add on to that. You can't lose if you have a friend that is the most powerful, most knowing, most able, most merciful. You can't lose. And it took me a little bit of time to kind of understand that the most valuable resource I could have is Almighty God Allah. And as we understand it, as we read scripture, and I learned that Allah is sufficient, and that Allah intentionally takes people and circumstances out of your life to get them out of the way so you can be what you are destined to be. And Allah doesn't leave you alone. He puts the things that you need and the resources and stuff that you need, he puts those into your life. So we may think and I need, like my mother was one of the greatest trials for me. This is the woman that birthed me, that raised me, that fed me, that housed me, clothed me. She did her work 15, 20-hour days, to keep heat on in the house. So, and for me to have to make that sacrifice, say, you know what, I have to leave her alone in order for me to become better and grow and accept and trust in Allah. For a lot of people, that is very difficult. From cousins, brothers, sisters, people that you've known all your life, and you're making a sacrifice to distance yourself. That doesn't mean you don't love these people. It doesn't mean you don't care about these people. Like, I love my mother. She's done a lot for me. Like, I learned a lot from her. But she is not the one that's going to get me to heaven. It's not her. So I had to leave that. I had to leave her. I had to let her be, in order for me to obtain the heaven that I've obtained so far. So when especially friends and people that we've known all our lives, it doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean that you don't care about them. Now you have somewhere to be. I have somewhere to be, I should say. And for, just speaking for myself, now I have someone I am to be. And now I can invite them along my journey. I don't have to just be a follower behind them or begging or waiting for their acceptance. Now they can see me as something, and now they can follow behind me. And if any instance they feel a jealousy or envy or any type of negative action or course against you, then you know those people were not meant for you. You know, like on any level of success in life, just a life experience in general, you have to become the person that deserves to be in that role. Like when people say that, you know, that term, you know, you got to pay the cost to be the boss. Well, what that means is you have to go through experiences. You have to go through ups and downs. You got to fail. You got to hurt. You got to cry. You know, you got to have laughs. You know, you got to go through these different things so you can learn what it takes and grow it to be that person. You got to be the right person. In order for me to be the right person, in order for me to be happy in my life, in order for me to obtain all the things that I've obtained now, to all the money that's come through my hands, all the nice things that I've had, all the relationships and all the grateful, all the wonderful things I've had in my life, I had to make sacrifices. I had to be the right person. In order to be the right person, I had to let things go. And I didn't lose anything. You know, at the time I thought, oh man, I'm gonna be alone, or, you know, I need this, I need that person, but I didn't lose anything. You know, I actually gained a lot more than I thought that I was losing. And people say, oh man, you're strong, this, that, and the other. But in reality, Allah is sufficient. He took care of me. He made sure that I was good. And I hear preachers and the minister and the messenger say things like that. But until you just take the leap, and then you start to see how God actually is here, and God is real, and God loves you, and God is... Now, when I say take care of you, I don't mean in the sense of government handouts. I mean in the sense of you actually getting out there and doing the work and having faith and taking the risk and going against adversity and believing, and Allah will support you, Allah will back you up. Just like when I look at the messenger, out of all the things that he had done after Master Prophet Muhammad said, you know what, I've taught you, you're ready, go get your people. And he distanced himself. You know, they would meet periodically here and there, or he would write them back and forth, you know, just to give him extra guidance, give him that extra faith, you know, just to reassure him. But after a while, you know, there was more of a distancing of their interaction, until it got to a point where the messenger had to just take everything that he had learned from God and go out there on his own and have faith that Master Prophet Muhammad is Allah in person, that he was backing him, and he built this great nation. You know, so with that being an example for me, I always look back to the messenger. Always, because he's been through everything. He had family come after him. People try to kill him. So who am I to be someone special to say that's not going to happen to me? Like people are not going to turn on me. You know, like what idiotic thought would I have to say, if the messenger of God, one divinely chosen, was going to go through these things, why would I think I'm not going to go through challenges and trials on some type of level? Like it would be ignorant of me to think that. And by him taking on the challenges and pursuing his destiny and his mission, what he was destined to do, and him becoming so immensely blessed, I too became immensely blessed by having faith in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the things that he taught me, and the God that he represented to me. The same God that others told me wasn't real, the same God that others told me, you know, was a fraud. You know, I got people to this day that are trying to give me books and do different things and try to catch me and say, hey man, you know, let me tell you something. And you know, I found some new information about Master Prophet Muhammad. You know, like, and I'll just like, can I look at you? Who is your leader and teacher? Can you show me a great example of what your leader teacher has done in the name of Allah? You know, so but they can't do that, and the only thing that they can do is try to tear down one who has done it, because when you're not doing, it makes you look smaller when you stand with people who are doing. And the messenger has a period behind his name. He's already done it. He's proven it. There's nothing else no one can give to him or take away from him. It's done. So we can always look at him as the greatest example of what should be and what could be. And that is the greatest reassurance for me, that to this very day, it's been 30, 40 years, you know, after the messenger departed, He's not here physically in front of us teaching us or guiding us, but his words, his sayings, the things that he taught are coming true today. They're still relevant today. They still work today. They're still making people like me today. Like I'm no one special. I'm not, I'm not some special case or some exception. I'm just another number of what the messenger has done with the teachings that he received from God and from his message. I have been able to handcuff all of so many different religious scholars, whether they be Orthodox Muslims or whether they're in Catholicism or any type of pagan type of belief, and whether they've been to college and universities and studied Islam and got their grades and all the diplomas. Like I just take the teachings of the messenger, and I spin them in a circle, in a whirlwind, and they don't even know what hit them. And I'm thinking like wow, if he can do this with me, like man, like what I wonder what he would have been like. What would have been like to sit in the audience with him. I wonder what it would have been like to, be in the background while he was on an interview with someone. Like man, like what I've been able to do with these teachings, they've been undeniable. And to me, that just even proved further that everything that he taught was true. Not only can you take everything that the messenger taught and you can dissect it, break it down, you can put it through math formulas, you can put it under telescopes and stethoscopes or whatever you want to do to try to dissect it and look at every little tiny little piece of it and try to find some type of error, some type of wrong in it. Like it all breaks down to be mathematically and scientifically proven fact. And that is something that is so scary to people to know. Like most people would just want to join a organization or movement because of some type of symbolic or emotional or some type of social movement that's happening at the moment. But when you commit to something that's this real, and it has actual effects on you, and actually changes you, and actually changes the people around you, like that for some people that could be kind of scary, but for me, I think people should run to that. I think people should have the courage to just investigate it. Like I never asked anybody. I never asked a woman that was interested in me to become a Muslim. I never request any of that, because you have to learn to love yourself and learn to love the teachings for yourself. You can't love it for me. And every woman that show interest in me, they all have messed with the black man. Like that was a requirement for me. Like if you want to get to know me, you have to get messed with the black man. Yeah, that's plain and simple. Like, and you got to read the book. So like that yes, was a requirement for me. So and all of them went and got messed with a black man, and they started reading the book. And I was like, okay, well, next step, you got to start coming to Crow. You got to start interacting. You got to start learning something. Because for me, like, I believe in a relationship, you have to be a team, and you have to be one mind and one body. And there's no greater, and of course, all these sisters had doctorates and masters and multiple masters, and all this education, which is wonderful, it's great, and I applaud them. They had their high paying jobs and nice homes and things like that. But I was like, okay, that's nice, but what impresses me is your understanding and knowledge of yourself. And if you can understand the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and accept yourself and accept your own, that's something that's going to knock my socks off. That's something that's going to wow me. So that's always been the case with me, is like you have to do this like for yourself.
Yes, sir. Just
like I did it for myself. And I can't ask anybody else to come to Crow and become a Muslim, because for one, Crow is not a mosque or a temple. It's not a religious institution. It is simply a place of higher education. And that's what we want to do. We want to educate people on a knowledge and information that is I would say it's being kept away from them intentionally. That is very much intentionally that those that don't want to see Black people off the bottom, they don't want us knowing this information because they know it would take us off the bottom. It would take us off one individual off the bottom. It will take all 40 million of us off the bottom. So no matter how many people get it, it's going to make an effect. It has to make an effect. It's divinely going to make an effect. We have a divine problem. We are in a divine situation, and it's only going to take a divine solution to change it. And I applaud civil rights leaders and activists and everyone else that feels and in their heart that they're doing the right thing for the community and for their people. I applaud them. I love them for that. But it's only going to get them so far. You can't vote your way out of slavery. You can't picket and march your way to financial freedom or independence. You can't. It's not going to happen. It doesn't make a logical sense for someone who has dominant power, control, and is intentionally and open and blatantly oppressing you to make you his equal, even if he sleeps with you and give you a baby, even if he marries you, to make you his equal. Like, it doesn't make sense at all, because then he will have to trade places with you. And if you think that being on the bottom is a bad place, why would you think that your oppressor wants to trade places with you? And there's a simple law of physics. You know, two things can occupy the same space at the same time. If you remove one object from a space, it creates a vacuum because something has to take that place. And no other nationality or community of people wants to take the place of Black people the way we are in society in this country on the bottom, and how we are treated and revered, and even in our own lands outside of this country. So
you're right, brother. That's perfectly said. Man, as I said before, the brother is a teacher. The brother is a true example of what the teachings can do for you. So as we wind down, I wanted to ask one more question as we finish up. Let the people know who Ismail is. What is he doing now? You know, how you have taken the teachings to be able to sustain yourself. Anything that you're doing that the people may need, or something that you can offer the people that they may be able to benefit from any of your business endeavors or any of the things that you have created, not just to sustain yourself financially, but to create opportunities for our people. So is there anything that you have to present to the people as we wrap up?
Sure. So one of the things that the messenger taught us is that food, clothing, and shelter are the necessities of life. And he also gave us direction as far as if we want to go to college or take different courses and what type of things that we should be doing because of what our nation needs. And the messenger was the greatest example of nation building in any nation, but especially for Black people. And you know, I never saw myself as making clothes. I never really kind of saw myself as making food. But I did see an opportunity in shelter, and the translation of shelter is real estate. And so real estate is my primary focus, is building wealth and creating opportunities for other people to build wealth in real estate. Another thing that one components to do that is learning how to leverage, if you don't have the resource, you don't have the cash or the capital, how to leverage credit, business credit, in order to do that, use other people's money to make yourself wealthy. So I do consulting for that, as far as capital development and consumer credit, business credit building, and also investing in real estate. Your viewing audience or listening audience can find me on Facebook. That's ISMAIL. is the first name, and last name is Muhammad, Muhammad. Or you can find me on Instagram. I think my Instagram name is ISMAILKM, and you can message me. I'm always willing to help educate, or if you're not in the position right now, you're not ready, or you're still in the kind of investigation phase of what you want to do or what you're thinking about. I'm always willing to educate people on different opportunities or different ways that they can do things, how to be more creative. There's not just one way to get a loan. There's not just one way to buy a home or a property. There's many ways to do it, so I want to open people's minds up for that. Even if they don't go through my service, I want them to take what they're learning from me and use it on their own to try to do something for their families and for themselves. Because even if they don't go directly with me in my service, if they're doing something for themselves, then that's doing something for the Black community, and I benefit anyway. So they can definitely look me up on social media if they're interested in getting type of more information or anything as far as like services and stuff as that. Other than that, I'm at Crow with the teachings. I'm in the studio with television production. Whether I am in front of the camera or behind the camera, whatever I can do to help and help build the organization and keep things going. I'm always willing to speak with people about the teachings, and I always encourage people to watch the shows on cable, channel 1925 if you're in Chicago and area. We have different airings throughout the country. You can always check the crow.org website to get those other channels and times depending on what region that you're in. But yeah, that is my primary focus right now is building wealth and creating opportunities for my people.
Thank you so much again, my brother. Well said. Now, for those who are listening, please, my brother has most certainly equipped himself with the necessary knowledge and information and expertise through his experiences on how to develop these most essential aspects of life, which is shelter. So if you have any questions, any inquiries at all, please do not be too bashful or too shy to reach out for my brother. He will not only help you, he will elevate you. And as you can see, through his ability to articulate the teachings of the messenger, his ability to walk you through his life and show you example after example how the messenger of God is the one who was perfectly chosen by Master Fard Muhammad, you will understand how he will be able to help you in real estate. So I thank you again, brother, for being on this conversation with me, taking the time out, building, and only thing I have to ask now is, will you be back, brother?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was looking forward to this time. I look forward to the next time.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you having me on the show. I'm kind of sad the time went by so quick.
Oh man, it flew by. We actually went over, but it's our show, so we can do what we want. But I couldn't stop you, brother. You were giving so much. You were so passionate. You were so thorough with your analysis on everything. I couldn't stop you. So whatever. But it's our show. We can do what we want. So I thank you again, yes, brother, for taking the time out. I thank my listening audience for taking heed to my brother. And don't be afraid to take the steps that will change your life. We are here. We've created this show, this podcast. Crow was created. The studio, Crow TV, was created all to disseminate, the truth about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, because we don't just believe, we know by the application of our time, efforts, and energy that it works and that it will benefit you and I. So I thank you for listening. I will come back for a brief word, but I thank my brother again. And until next time, assalamu alaikum. So again, I want to thank my brother for taking the time out to give us such a beautiful story that I think really displays the power of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. The ability to take one from a dead state, to take one who was totally lost and void of all of the knowledge that would be able to protect and save his life. As I say all the time, the knowledge of God, the knowledge of the devil, and the knowledge of self. So I thank Brother Ismail for that opportunity to interview him and for his ability to articulate himself in such a beautiful and mastery way. So for all of those who are listening, for all of those who, like I said before, are on that inroad, so to speak, of should they take hold of this beautiful, beautiful man, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the God that he represents, Allah in a person who appeared as Master Farad Muhammad, and everything that he taught us. I think brother's testimony would give you the exact unequivocal answer, and that would be yes. So I thank you for listening. And until next time, I leave you in the words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.